So here's an easy way to set up all the data that you need for a double box and whisker plot. The first thing that you would do is you need to set up a table to show the values that you're going to use in your box and whisker plots. So the data that I have here is one that we used in class where we were comparing winning scores of NFL football teams compared to losing scores of the NFL teams over the first 4 weeks of the season. So what I would want to do is set up a little table here off to the side showing only the data that I'm going to use in my box and whisker plot. So I would set up first by using winning scores, okay, and I can just copy this on a Mac by hitting Command C and it will copy it, and then I put it to the cell that I want to put it into. I want to hit Command V and that's a paste, and that lets me copy and paste. And I would do the same thing with the losing scores. I'd hit Command C on the losing scores and then hit Command V and it will paste that title in there for me, okay? So I want winning scores and then losing scores. And then the values that I'm going to need for them are I'm going to need the lower extreme of each. I'm going to need the lower quartile of each. I'm going to need the median of each, the upper quartile, misspelled that there, and I'm going to need the upper extreme. So I want to make this little table off to the side of my data because these are the only values that I'm really interested in doing my measures of central tendency. So I could do this all by hand, but when I look down at how much data I have, I've got 62 pieces of data for each measurement. So obviously I don't want to do that by hand. It's going to be too difficult. So instead I can use sheets. So if I want to find the lower extreme is the minimum value in my data set. Anytime I want sheets to do something for me, I'm going to treat it as a formula. And anytime I want sheets to do a formula for me, I type the equal sign in first. Now when I put in the equal sign, that's telling sheets that you want them to do a formula for you. So when I do the lower extreme, they don't recognize lower extreme, but what it does recognize is the minimum. So if I type in MIN, it's going to give me right here the minimum value in a data set. So I want to click on that because that's what I'm looking for. Now here it gives you a bunch of things that you're looking for, okay? What you want to put in then is you want your range of data that you want the minimum from, okay? And all you have to do very easily, I want the minimum of the winning scores, so I'm going to click on the first winning score and drag all the way down to the last winning score, okay? And now it's showing me right here that this is the range that I want from that cell A2 all the way down to cell A63. And then I can just hit enter and it puts that in for me. And I'm going to do the same thing for the losing scores. I'll hit equals and I want the minimum value, so I type in MIN and click on that, and then again I just want the range right here, this range from the first losing score to the last losing score. That's the range I want, and I hit enter. And now it found the smallest losing score. I'm going to do my median next, just because the median's a little bit easier to find. Median, it recognizes how to find a median. So again, I'm going to do an equal sign so that it does the formula for me, and I'm going to actually type in median. And it will show you, it says it's finding the median value in a data set. So I'm going to click on that. And again, it just wants the range. What's the range of the cells that it's looking for the median from? So right here, I'm starting at this cell in the winning scores, and I'm scrolling all the way down to the last cell I want, and I'm hitting enter. And it puts the median in for me. So I'm going to do the same thing for losing scores. I hit equals, type in median, click on that, and then it gives me the median, and I want this range of the losing scores. And then I'll hit enter, and it gave me the median value of the losing scores. And then I'm going to jump to the upper extreme because this one's really easy to do as well. Okay, so if the lower extreme was the minimum value or the min, the upper extreme, again, I want it to do a formula for me, so I'm going to type in equals. Always remember you have to hit equals first when you're doing a formula, or else it won't work right. And since this was the min value, the upper extreme is going to be the max value, the maximum value in the set. And I'll click on it. And again, I want that same range, the range of the winning scores. I'm going to click on that first cell, drag it all the way to the last one, hit return. So 57 was the maximum score. In the losing scores, I'm going to hit equals, type in MAX for max, click on it, and then I want the range of the losing scores. So from this first losing score to this last losing score, and hit enter. And I'm going to have that. So the upper extreme for the losing scores was 39. Now for the quartiles, these are done basically the same way, but there's one little addition you have to put on to the end. So I'll do the lower quartile first. So again, I wanted to do a formula, so I'm going to hit equals. So what I wanted to find is a quartile. So I'll type in quartile. Type it correctly. There it is. Okay, and this is really the only option with QUAR in it. So it wants the quartile. So I'm going to click on quartile. Now the difference with a quartile, again, is you're going to use the range of data you want. So I want the quartile, the winning scores. So I'm going to click on that and drag it down each score. Okay. Now what it wants though, what the difference here is, before I hit enter on a quartile, the program is asking for what quartile do you want as well. Since it's the lower quartile, it's the first quartile that I want. So I need to hit a comma and then put a 1. And you see then I'm representing the quartile number. I want the first quartile. And then I can hit enter. And it gives me the first quartile of the winning scores. So I would do the same thing for the losing scores. Type equals QUAR, and then that only option is that quartile. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click and drag through the range of the losing scores again. Okay, and then I'm going to hit comma, and I want the first quartile of the losing scores, and then hit enter. And that's the first quartile. 9 is the first quartile of the losing scores. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the upper quartile. I'm going to hit equals again so it can do the function for me, or the formula. Type in QUAR for a quartile. I'm going to find the range of the winning scores again. Now this one is why it's slightly different, because now it wants the upper quartile. Each piece of data is like a quartile. The lower extreme is the lowest number, so that's like 0. The lower quartile is your first quartile. The median is halfway through your data, so that's your second quartile. The upper quartile is your third quartile. So I'm going to type comma 3 so that I can find the upper quartile, the third quartile, and then hit enter. And then I'm going to do the same thing again for the losing scores. Hit the equal sign, type in QUAR for quartile, click on it, find the range of the losing scores. Make sure I have that range set. Notice each time it's the same range as well. It's A2 to A63, sorry, or B2 to B63. But anyway, so for the upper quartile, again, for a quartile, I have to hit a comma after that range and then tell the program what quartile number I want. So I want quartile 3 this time, and I'm going to hit return. And there's the upper quartile for the losing scores. So now I have all the data I need to make my box and whisker plot. So I have all of my winning scores data that I need, all my losing scores data I need, and now I have my 5 points to make my box and whisker plot.